The future of the Las Vegas Raiders is hanging in the balance, especially on the defensive side of the game. There's a lot of uncertainty, starting with Antonio Pierce. If Pierce gets fired, it's highly likely the Raiders will bring in a new defensive coordinator, which would mean an entirely new defensive scheme. But even if Pierce stays, Patrick Graham's future remains unclear. His contract is set to expire at the end of the season, and so far, there's no word of a contract extension. When asked about his plans by Raiders beat writer Hondo Carpenter, Graham didn't give much away. Carpenter asked, "Would you be interested in staying with the Raiders? You've done a great job here." Graham replied, "I love working with the players and this organization, but right now, I'm focused on the Chargers." His response leaves fans wondering what's next for the silver and black defense. Patrick Graham's response to the question about his future was far from clear. "I've got to do a better job, period," he said, avoiding a direct answer and shifting focus to the upcoming game against the Chargers. It's hard not to wonder, does Graham know something the rest of us don't? Even if Antonio Pierce returns next season, his 2-year contract only guarantees him 1 more year. That uncertainty might make Graham hesitant to stick around. After all, signing a 1-year extension wouldn't provide much job security. It seems logical that if Pierce leaves, Graham would likely follow, opening the door for him to explore other opportunities, ones that could offer more stability for his career. Right now, the Raiders are stuck in a tough spot, and their defensive future feels more uncertain than ever. The uncertainty for the Raiders doesn't end with the coaching staff. Many key defensive players are also in the final year of their contracts, leaving the team with some big decisions to make. The list includes cornerback Nate Hobbs, linebacker Robert Saleh, defensive tackle Adam Butler, safety Trayvon Moehrig, edge rusher Malcolm Koonce, linebacker Divine Diablo, and safety Marcus Epps. All of them are question marks heading into the offseason. The good news? The Raiders have plenty of cap space. The bad news? That money could disappear fast. Max Crosby has already hinted at wanting his contract restructured, as he no longer has any guaranteed money left on his deal. Balancing these demands with the need to rebuild the defense won't be easy. The Raiders will have to carefully prioritize which players from this list they want to bring back. It's clear the Raiders have resources to work with, but the clock is ticking, and every decision will shape the future of the franchise. The Raiders will also need to dip into free agency to address roster needs, adding even more complexity to an already uncertain situation. From the list of pending free agents, there are definitely players worth bringing back, but it won't be easy to balance talent with value. Take Nate Hobbs, for example. He's been a standout at the slot cornerback position, a role that's notoriously hard to fill. Hobbs has played exceptionally well when healthy, but that's the issue: his availability. From 2022 to 2024, Hobbs has missed games in every season due to injuries. He's a valuable player, but overpaying for someone with a history of being sidelined would be a risky move. The Raiders will need to find the right balance, a sweet spot for his contract that reflects both his talent and his injury history. Then there's edge rusher Malcolm Koonce, another intriguing case. Last season, Koonce broke out in a big way, showing flashes of being a legitimate force opposite Max Crosby. However, despite his potential, he didn't play a single down in the regular season. This raises questions about whether the Raiders should gamble on his upside or look elsewhere for stability. Balancing these tough decisions will be key as the Raiders work to rebuild a competitive roster. Malcolm Koonce's situation is complicated by the season-ending ACL injury he suffered. The biggest concern is how well he'll recover. Will the injury affect his speed and physicality? That's a major question mark, and committing significant money to a player coming off such a serious injury always carries risk. Another issue is the limited sample size of Koonce performing at a high level. During his first 2 years in the league, he barely saw the field. Even in 2023, he wasn't a regular contributor early in the season. It wasn't until Antonio Pierce took over as interim head coach that Koonce was moved into the starting lineup and finally began to shine. Essentially, Koonce has only had half a season where he's shown what he's capable of. While his potential is undeniable, the lack of consistent performance over a longer period makes it tricky to assess his value. The Raiders will have to weigh the risks of investing in a player with both injury concerns and limited experience as a starter. Because Malcolm Koonce is coming off a major injury and has only half a season of strong performances on tape, the Raiders will need to be cautious about not overpaying him. This is another situation where finding the right balance is critical. Adding to the complexity is the team's recent acquisition of K.A. Lavon Chasson at the edge rusher position. This gives the Raiders more options, but also raises questions about how they'll handle Koonce's future. Ideally, signing him to a one-year prove-it deal would make the most sense. It would allow Koonce to show that he's still capable of performing at a high level while giving the Raiders some flexibility. If he delivers like he did late last season, he could be in line for a massive payday. Another player worth mentioning is Robert Saleh. He's been an outstanding addition to the team and has quickly become a fan favorite. As the captain of the linebacker group, Saleh is a true leader on and off the field. His presence has been invaluable to this defense. It would be great to see Robert Saleh return next season. However, his fit largely depends on who the next defensive coordinator will be. If the scheme changes, he might not align with it, which makes his future uncertain. This same uncertainty applies to other key players. Take Adam Butler, for instance, a veteran presence on the team. Will the Raiders opt to keep him, or will they prioritize younger talent at his position? Trayvon Moehrig, a reliable safety, could likely be retained at a reasonable price. On the other hand, Divine Diablo finds himself on the bubble, and Marcus Epps might follow Patrick Graham out the door if Graham doesn't return. The upcoming offseason will be pivotal for the Raiders. First, they need to address the head coaching situation. After that, they must decide on the defensive coordinator. A new defensive philosophy could lead to a significant roster overhaul, potentially bringing in a host of new faces to this defense next season. If Patrick Graham departs, the Raiders have some important decisions to make. Will they promote from within, like elevating Rob Leonard, the current defensive line coach who's done an exceptional job with the unit? Or will they pursue an experienced external candidate? One intriguing option would be former New York Jets head coach Robert Saleh. His defensive expertise and proven track record could be exactly what the Raiders need to reinvigorate their defense and establish a solid foundation for the future. Robert Saleh has built an impressive resume in the NFL over the years. From 2011 to 2012, he contributed to the legendary Legion of Boom as a defensive quality control coach for the Seattle Seahawks. Later, he served as the linebackers coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars from 2014 to 2016. His most notable achievement came during his time as the defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, 2017 to 2020, where he transformed the defense into one of the NFL's best. Under Saleh's leadership, the 49ers defense helped propel the team to a Super Bowl appearance in the 2019 season. His defenses were renowned for their aggressiveness, versatility, and mental toughness. However, his tenure as head coach for the New York Jets was less successful. His first season ended with a 4-13 record, followed by back-to-back 7-10 seasons. Despite these struggles, Saleh's defensive prowess was evident, and the Jets' defense noticeably declined after his departure. Currently, Saleh is working with the Green Bay Packers as a consultant, but his vast experience and defensive expertise make him a compelling option for teams looking for a strong defensive leader. If the Raiders could bring him on board, it might be the shakeup their defense needs to reach the next level. If the opportunity to return as a defensive coordinator arose, Robert Saleh would likely give it serious consideration. Known for his energetic and passionate coaching style, Saleh's defenses are characterized by aggressive schemes, innovative fronts, and clever coverages designed to disrupt opposing offenses. He's also widely respected for his ability to connect with players on a personal level, earning their trust and commitment. As for Patrick Graham, while his tenure as the Raiders' defensive coordinator hasn't been exceptional, it's been a marked improvement compared to previous coordinators. Graham has delivered steady, if not spectacular, results. However, it's becoming increasingly clear that his time with the Raiders may be nearing its end. If the organization decides to part ways with him, the team will face critical decisions about the direction of their defense moving forward. Raider Nation, what are your thoughts? Do you believe Patrick Graham will return next season, or is it time for a change? And if a change is coming, who would you want as the Raiders' new defensive coordinator? Share your thoughts in the comments below.